fantastic. I think that's a really nice ban here from Ultra Prime. I'm curious if they're going to set up any potential jungle pick like a Vi early on with that Poppy being taken away. But out of all the OP champs that are up, Ashe is on the board. Not only is it a good pick for Wako, but also a good deny from Light and Weibo, as Light's used that champion very well.
Interesting to see what the response looks like from Light nonetheless. Ashe sometimes gets matched by another sort of, setup oriented AD carry. The Varus Ashe matchup happens a lot, I seem to see. We'll see if Light decides to lean into that. Right now, though, a classic Vi pairing anew. We see the Aurora paired up with Vi, the immediate response from Weibo, and a classic blind blue side Cassante. This is a pretty stock standard but strong blue side, I would say, from Ultra Prime. Hey, there's some draft points for me if this one gets locked in.
We like the draft points here on the caster desk. Real quick,
especially the play-by-plays.
Yeah, always nice to snag those when you can, you know? Ultra Prime already have a bit of an identity to peel, whereas Weibo is showing dive early on in this draft. I like the Varus. I'm curious if it ends up being poke Varus to try and utilize some range and that over-the-top damage that is so strong from him in order to reach whatever target that Vi is going for. But it's interesting. I'm curious if we even see a Renekton ban thrown out, because, yeah, Renekton and the Cassante match that we're all really familiar with, but can struggle in the Ashe Braum later on if any sort of lead is picked up by the Ashe Braum, because you just get kited and peeled for days. So interested to see what the case is there. And also, of course, that Aurora can still be top 2. So a little bit of flexibility for Weibo on their side going into the second phase of draft.
Complete tangent here. I actually, the more I'm looking at the Ultra Prime guys in the background, I'm kind of loving the royal purple jumpsuit vibe we got going on for them.
I like the purple. The shade of purple's nice.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been getting some jersey leaks so far for our home region, LTA North. They're starting to come out, and I gotta say, jersey game this split hasn't been quite as good as I was hoping for. So
I feel like the gold days are behind us in those. I feel like
there are still some good ones, but yeah, we're gonna see what's up moving forward. That's it. Moving forward in the draft, Victor, take it away. Victor got hit by the micro patch, but still a pick that is very strong, and teams are going for it.
Zyra being thrown as a jungle ban for Junhao, so that one is a bit of a pocket pick here. Maybe signaling that we could see the AP come out here in the jungle instead of Saber for an extra bit of oomph. Rakan and Jace bans round out, though, from Ultra Prime, and the classic Rel from Hong. Gonna lock in the bottom lane for Light and Hong. A lot of setup, a ton of setup. Just setup galore here for Weibo.
Yeah, a lot of big R keys for Weibo Gaming, as the Aurora Between Worlds gonna try and send Ultra Prime to the grave with everything else they have behind it. We'll say more peel interrupt. I like the Wukong here. Okay matchup into the Vi. Needs to scale a little bit, but you can play that engage with its. I still think Ultra Prime is lacking main engage, but also with all that engage showing for Weibo, Wukong also can peel very well. So I like this pick a lot here, actually, for Junhao in this scenario.
This is a very big spot here for Saber. However, two champions, I think, accomplish two very different things. He's going to lock in the Akali. The Azir would have really harnessed that peel back identity alongside the Ashe, but I do like having a backline threat, because you never want to leave Light untouched, and it's going to be hard for them to get to Light in a lot of scenarios unless you have that Akali. So expect to see Saber constantly trying to be that flanker for a comp that's going to try and play, like you mentioned, Cubby, so much slower in these fights.
Yeah, and that and Bessa for me really solidifies the fact. I think it's going to be poke Varus, and Bessa brings enough damage for a fight if she's able to live, and there's a real lack of CC on Ultra Prime to help deal with and Bessa. So I think it's a really good use of 5 pick there from Breathe and Weibo, and we'll see if he can pilot that new champ that has been so good in the early season to great heights, because frankly, nothing's stopping Bessa in this draft. So going to be really tough to peel that champion back.
It's the battle of dashes at the top lane, right?
Yeah.
Cassante was the first dash meme, and boy, if you let those Mbessa cooldowns and combos go, it is another level. Ultra Prime, though, looking to kick their game up to another level if they want to threaten in this Group B. No a better way to get an edge up on both Weibo and OMG, who were swept out by WBG, than finding what would be the biggest upset of the LPL so far in my mind, and we are getting set to head to the Rift soon for game number 1.
Excited to dive in and see if we can get that big upset. Demacia Cup was packed with some surprises, but we haven't really seen that yet.
Except for TT.
Yeah, oh, well, now, I mean, was it really a surprise, though, Slayer, if you saw the Demacia Cup results, huh?
That's what I was trying to tell
I know.
Jamada, and it was not relenting. And then, well, results-based analysis always proves right.
Well, 1xN Feather playing some good league there for TT, so excited to see if that can continue. But, hey, Ultra Prime trying to turn the tides themselves from last year. It didn't have the best-looking Demacia Cup, and as you highlighted, good chance to take down an expected top dog of LPL in Weibo Gaming, making their debut here, or I should say second game in Split 1. The OMG series, it was quick. I think Ultra Prime's going to try and last a little bit longer than that.
We hope to have ourselves a very, very fun 5-game split. The classic cinematics showing off the new Noxus-based Rift as we finally head on here. And we'll start to see if we get those, a lot of new changes. We've had a ton of lane swapping. Cubby, are we expecting it here? I feel like there's not a direct bottom lane that you really want to lane swap out of, though, in this matchup.
Yeah, but I think that you want to lane swap the Cassante versus the Ambessa just because Cassante deals better in that scenario with less resources. So for me, it's Weibo Gaming trying to guess that that's going to be the setup with light position here on the top side.
We'll have to see how it manifests. Looks like both bottom lanes are actually heading straight towards each other. So Weibo have called the neutral lane assignment bluff here, and Ambessa and Breathe will get that pretty coveted matchup on the bot side.
Yeah, I also want to highlight, I was teasing the fact that it could be a poke Varus. Does look to be that standard on-hit Varus. Poke Varus did see some nerfs going into the new season. It was a very popular pick for Demacia Cup. This Varus will have a little bit of a harder time interacting with this game, just with less range, but there is nothing like really terrible for him, and also will be very good at ripping through the Cassante, the Braum, the Wukong, the 3 champions that do get very tanky if light is given space.
And that's why I really like it, just to play into what I would also consider light's really big strength, and is, as I've heard the great Alk Battery say, glideability on these 80 carries. Definitely light, one of the titular characters in that aspect. Both jugglers starting on these mirrored clears. Good hawk shot comes out there from Wako to immediately spot Tian on his clear down. So a little bit of advantage for Ultra Prime. Not like it's a far from standard clear, but they have that information nonetheless.
Yeah, so far it's just mirrored, and it is good to see the Ashe Braum throwing their weight around a little bit early, especially against this iteration of Varus. You do somewhat get a double range setup down here, which is nice. The Ashe outranges a little bit, and then the Braum Q is really good for harass early on in the lane. So, overall, I would say the Ultra Prime did somewhat get the bot lane match if they wanted to. They didn't get the portion where they do starve out the Ambessa if you are able to find that 2v1 setup. So something to look out for later on is, again, I think Ambessa in that 5-pick slot is going to be a really big problem for Ultra Prime later on in this game. Just really don't see how they're going to be able to deal with this champion.
It's important to start to keep, understanding these new big changes, especially when it comes to those ever awesome graphics packages that continue to grow as more buffs and additions come to the game. Those 3 feats of strength goals, you can see them below the 2 teams at the top of the score bug here, with the ever-present one being First Blood, and we might just see it as both junglers make their way to the lane. Xiaohu under threat, gonna have to flash over the shuriken from Saber, but here's the response from Tian, going for Wanjiang, who is way too far up with his wave pushed in. Gonna wait out the flash, the Vault Breaker gonna land. Nice. Great patience for the Weibo Gaming jungler, and 1 flash secures First Blood. And the first feat of strength here for Weibo, but the bottom lane's getting handsy as well, as Hong full flashes in, does not stun up Wako, and now the Ashlows are really starting to stack. Hong should fall to lethal tempo, and the Braum stun is going to force Light to cleanse out himself. We'll be able to get back towards that turret, but will he find the trade? The piercing arrow falls just short.
Yeah, Hong misses on his engage. The Q did not land on Wako, so Ultra Prime able to turn that around in the top lane as the 2v2 is winning. And meanwhile, of course, we did see Tian got that ball rolling. Did spend a lot of our time before the series started talking about the importance of these jungle support duos for each of the teams. Ultra Prime, Demacia Cup, not really having the performance they wanted to in those 2 roles, whereas we did see some really good signs out of Tian and Hong that done a good job of getting the ball rolling. Did see Tian do that successfully in that gank bot side. Meanwhile, Hong not exactly connecting with that early game aggression we're used to seeing from him, and the top side is getting another look.
I don't know if how much of another look we really want here.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, right? He's expecting Wako to flash, just not expecting Wako to flash so straight towards his turret.
I mean, it looks like he reacted to it. Just straight up missed the skill shot. I understand waiting for the flash. Also, you're looking to remove the barrier, which Rel's Q does. So, yeah, it makes sense strategically from Hong, but just not well executed. And at this level, I know we haven't been the kindest to Ultra Prime so far, but can't make mistakes like that at this level or else you will get punished.
Can't make those mistakes in the LPL no matter who you are playing against. Now, Wako starting to stack up one hell of a wave here. Good vision, though, in that topside jungle from Weibo, as they are ahead in that feats of strength, goal-oriented play style. Just need that second one of 3. It looks like we're going to trade of those epic monsters from the 2 junglers, as Tian is going to start up on the dragon, and Junhao should have no trouble with his bot lane shoving in that topside wave, grabbing the 3 grubs.
I think this is A-okay here for each of our teams. Of course, for Tian, Vi uniquely with the Denting Blows passive gets through Dragon quite quickly. So I think it just makes sense based on where the prio is for each of our squads. And so far, we'll see if Ultra Prime can do anything with these first set of Grubs. Grub's still very determinative of how you can push in the meta in the mid game. And I think that with the first 3, all 3 going over to Ultra Prime, eyes on Weibo to see how they can test that second spawn of Grubs. It really isn't a question of if you get the first 3, it is how. As you are forced to respond because 5-6 Grubs, again, at this level, we've seen teams do way too much with that. Whoa. Saber's going to follow up on Xiaohu. He's down flash.
Mid. Oh, cease and desist going to follow the flash there from Saber. The Cyclone getting the knockup, but Xiaohu cannot follow his jungler. So despite the flash not getting him away from Tian, it actually sets up a trap and gets another kill for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, we don't even see Between Worlds cast as Tian being kind of baited over the wall there. Great flash from Saber as on the Akali very mobile in these fights and able to use it to manipulate the terrain to put Tian in a really tough position. So well played so far. A couple good looks from Ultra Prime.
You get the fruit bearing from grabbing that flash earlier out of Xiaohu. Gotta think if he has that summoner, he's following his jungler with that ult like you were talking about.
Yep.
But just did not have the assets to do so. Kill going over as well to Junhao, so starting to get some gold lead building up here for Ultra Prime.
Do you want to credit Junhao a little bit on that? As we're going to see an answer here from Xiaohu. Saber.
Xiaohu, one of the LPL legends, right on time. Gonna find this kill onto Saber. Should with a couple more stacks of that passive. Why not take it safe and get it done with the auto attacks? There's Xiaohu on the board as the Weibo Gaming bottom lane next to Tian. Level that bottom lane advantage for Ultra Prime. With a snap of a fingers, Weibo are back in control.
I got RosieLove's flash too. Of course, kill going over on 2 of the carries here for Ultra Prime. Do want to see how that, or hope we get to see how that top play evolved. Second off, but man, kind of a weird death from Saber and too bad as just didn't have enough gas in the tank to get that wave in. Was going for that and then trying to get a reset. But yeah, not the case. Xiaohu able to punish. And that's too bad because it was a really nice play from Saber to bait Tian over the wall, make that play happen, and then follows it up with a bit of a dud. As, yeah, that E just not good. Out of mana. Again, just really fighting for the wave, but didn't dodge anything from Xiaohu. Of course, saved that Between Worlds from the last fight. And that was enough for Xiaohu to get the 1v1, and Saber just didn't have enough to get that wave all the way in safely.
No ult, no flash, not off a reset. Here's that top or bottom lane skirmish.
Ooh, very nice.
Hong redeems himself is the story.
Very nice. Yeah, that was beautiful by Hong. Really good Hex Flash. Ultra Prime, I don't know if they saw Rel go into the brush or not, but not great positioning from them to stack up like that. You do want to be a little bit more split up in that lane, especially going up against a Rel. So really good punish from Weibo as Hong snuck his way into that brush, used the fog very well to get solid 2v2 and get Weibo back in control of that lane.
See how much they use this newfound power to try and play towards that top side. Is those Grubs you marked, Cubby, as a big importance are coming up soon here, and the vision is just, there are so many warriors from Ultra Prime dedicated to covering the top river specifically right now.
Yeah, 40 seconds still, the upcoming Grubs. Those could be important. The big change, though, is because that top play went the way of Weibo, that bot lane isn't stuck getting peppered under tower. Light has that sustain with a Vamp Scepter. And they have a bit of a XP advantage after that 2v2 as well, if you take a look at the scoreboard. So actually able to step up and get their own prio in this lane, whereas the first Grub spawn, that was not the case. It was Ultra Prime with their own prio. And that just might be enough for Tian to get in here, manicure these brushes to get the wards out. Xiaohu has shove as he also found a kill in the mid lane. I'm curious at this point even, like, how much do Ultra Prime want to contest this? You got to believe that they're going to fight it to try and at least get one Grub, but the positioning and the map play for Weibo far better for them as they set up this objective.
And even Cubby, the summoner advantage, right? You still got 2 suns off RosieLove, no barrier. Flash just coming up from Wako. Still some flashes coming around. Will Weibo have all of their summoners available, but they are going to respect and come off the Grubs at first, with Junhao joining up with his bottom lane, trying to just force the issue top side, but Tian and Xiaohu trying to see just how far Saber wants to loom away from his mid lane. His top laners, per usual, are slugging it out, but we got to see how this top lane Grub take develops. That is a flash out of Breathe. Respect to Junhao.
Yeah, that flash is going to keep him in the lane, actually, with Junhao taking 2 tower shots, but a lot of time being spent topside. That will be 1 Grub secured, and we have to engage.
I'm going to go in, only going to strap the Braum. We have a TP coming in the background. RosieLove able to get back towards his AD carry. Now Hong is just caught in the middle, and Junhao is going to execute him with the Cyclone. In with the C6 goes Tian. The turn with Xiaohu here. Tons of damage dropped through, but the Akali drops into the Shroud. Going to try perfect execute. Gets the Braum stun on the Tian. Down he goes. And now Xiaohu's got no help until Breathe flies in with the public execution. Gets one of his own. Junhao able to trade out the AD carry as the split fight manifests itself, but Saber is too far away from his solo lane ally, forced out of the river, and Xiaohu has no intention of stopping the chase here. The Shroud should be enough for Saber to escape to safety, but a bloody first fight to kick off this game 1.
And frankly, Xiaohu came to the rescue for that fight as TPs from everywhere to contest the Grubs. Big thing for Ultra Prime. They did secure 1. So yes, the fight was slightly not in their favor with where everything ended up, but they don't have to contest these Grubs anymore. They could just play hard for the Dragon. It looks like that might be the call as we see double control wards and Junhao on that side of the map. Tian also trying to contest. I'm really curious that they haven't taken away those next 2 Grubs. I know Breathe is stuck under his turret, but you gotta imagine that denying the 6 is still important. And with cooldowns being down, I mean, massive a fight, but taking a look, Hong finds the engage onto the flashless Braum, which is not the best case, and I love how RosieLove interrupts Vi, but then how they split up in the back half here. Wako's positioned pretty well, where he respects Xiaohu going in, waits it all out, and then has a big impact on the back half of this fight. And the initial engage that came down wasn't really big enough for Weibo to win. It was really Breathe and Xiaohu to the rescue with these TPs that helped make sure they were able to get a slight advantage for themselves to go back to live, and the fights continue.
Ooh, Ash Arrow down on Tian. Gets knocked up by the Braum. The power of the Frailordy and ultimates holding the Weibo jungler at bay as the Vault Breaker himself out to safety. As Ultra Prime are going to grab that second dragon. They are now 1 epic monster away from grabbing that first goal. And like you talked about, Cubby, if they get back up towards those Grubs because Junhao secured 1, they could just sneak the goal all alone on themselves right now.
And honestly, that's huge and must needed. They missed out on first blood, so that would keep the feats of strength close if they were able to get up there. Again, really surprised that Weibo decided to contest that objective down sums. Or not just down sums, but down R's. So we talked about how important the R keys are for Weibo in executing their comp, making sure that this initial engage they have is big. Contesting that objective down some, maybe it was them trying to read Ultra Prime, just saying, okay, we're going to sack 6 Grubs and go Dragon. I'm not exactly sure, but kind of just curious they didn't try and deny these Grubs at all, because that would have been really big for setting the timer back.
Junhao. Trap set, ultimates committed, all ultimates, and Junhao gets popped, unlike Casante's usually, and that should give Weibo enough control to make sure no Monster Slayer goal here for Ultra Prime.
Oh, I was not expecting that damage to go down on Casante, but that is, I guess, Ambessa with Eclipse can put down some good damage, and we did tease before this game started that Ambessa really has potential to rip through the composition for Ultra Prime. Again, not a lot of great CC to help deal with Ambessa throughout these fights. Can walk it out with Ashe, but that's tough with all the mobility that Ambessa has and all the pressure that the rest of Weibo's composition is going to put down onto a champion like Ashe. So I think the fact that Breathe sitting pretty at 2-0-1, honestly, the best person for me where that gold could be for Weibo moving forward in this game. So I do think that Weibo, I know the resources are close, but where Weibo has the resources allocated, I think a little bit better for them.
It's a little bit extra sweeter because, like you talked about with Mbessa and honestly Aurora, depending on the flank, they have their own setup mechanic ability, so you don't worry that they won't be put in a good position by the rest of Weibo to dole out the damage with these leads that they both accrued. Especially knowing, you know, the pedigree of Xiaohu, they're going to find their ways to make sure they use the most out of this Mbessa and Aurora. As we did see in the background, Ultra Prime grabbed first turret, so it's going to come down to that coveted Monster Slayer goal to figure out who's going to get those feats of strength.
Yeah, that, I mean, Rift Herald spawns here in a couple seconds. Could be big. I do see Tian on the top side of the map so far, but with Wako and RosieLove in mid first, priority for this wave will at least be contested. We'll see about the next one when Light gets in position if Weibo wants to pull the trigger. Xiaohu's already roamed up, so that's big for Weibo. Here we go.
Set up a flanking zone as Tian does go in. They get the season assist down, and they have Wako marked. No Glacial Fisher will save that Ashe as Wako drops off. One Zhang going to teleport in. Response coming as well here from Breathe. But Tian is holding his own. In flies Saber with the perfect execution. Does get Tian down, drops into the Shroud, gets himself a second kill on the recast as well. One Zhang on the all-out form trying to really dole out the damage, but Breathe is just way too powerful. Who's got more dashes in tote? It's Breathe and the Mbessa as Weibo are able to turn the end of the fight and give themselves a 4-3 lead.
I mean, again, looking at this draft, what can deal with Mbessa on Ultra Prime's side, especially if you remove something like Brom early on or Ashe is pressured in the fight. Breathe makes his entrance a bit later in the skirmish, but man, is it felt and heard by Ultra Prime as he just ran the back half of that fight.
Not a lot of deaths, though, a lot of low health bars, so not going to allow Weibo to just swing over towards that Rift Herald. We'll get a replay here. Tian just...
I mean, look at the prio. We have one Zhang, he has to TP. Xiaohu's already here. And then, you know, who's here first? It's Saber versus Breathe, but with everything being burned early in this fight, Breathe gets pretty much nothing when he enters to contest him. As I thought Saber was going to make it close with that close fight on the Xiaohu, but we have to get out of that replay because Rift Herald is being taken. Weibo don't have their R's back up yet, but they do secure the Rift.
Tian flies in, hits the back of the eye smite for more than enough damage. So he grabs that Herald, and now we are as close as we possibly can, Cubby, to either team grabbing those feats of strength. We're at 2 apiece.
Next one gets it.
Oh, RosieLove, my lord, that Xiaohu damage.
And that could be enough, too. I mean, against the Braum, you have Dragon spawning in 5 seconds. You do have mid-push. Our keys are back up for Weibo, so you can see Tian going over the wall, and it's already being pulled by Xiaohu with the Braum basing. Feats of strength likely to be secured here by Weibo on top of the their second Dragon, as we do have a Hex Tech Rift for this game.
Which is one of the more coveted ones, as Shelly's going to get her crack at the mid lane turret. Weibo are just gobbling up everything they can on the map right now that's important. Tier 1 mid lane turret down, feats of strength soon to follow, and the Dragon stacking. Spicing a little bit of a 2K gold lead in. Weibo, with their comp, like we preached, that has a ton of setup to force whatever they want, are very much so in position.
Oh, looks like we're going to get the start of this Rift Herald fight again. As Xiaohu did have to TP in. We're just getting a look. Looks like Tian found the smite, the eye combo to make sure he knocked that one down. Very well played. As you see the graphic, all the new boots, which were toned down a little bit in the micro patch, but still are very strong. Only get access to those if you do secure the feats of strength, which Weibo have. And you can see UI there at top of the screen. They were able to secure first blood and first 3 monster objectives. So those upgraded boots will be theirs, and we'll see how close, or we'll see when Breathe tries to pull the trigger on that, because he already has the 2 items that can then enable you to buy those. You do need 2 legendary items to get those new boots.
So much power. It's gotta scare people like Wako and company, maybe Junhao as well. The fact that once Breathe decides to make that 750 gold upgrade, he's gonna have a ton of extra armor behind a kit that is so much based in dealing out the damage.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the fun new additions to the game, as feats of strength. I mean, I don't think it's changed the game as much as people feel like it has, but again, if you find an early lead, you now have rewards for that lead for the rest of the game, no matter what happens next. So some of the boots stronger than others. I do think the Steel Caps version is okay. As I believe you get on every boot gets bonus move speed, but I think this one you get a bonus shield, which is not bad. So on top of just like initially you get a bonus 5 armor before you even buy the upgraded version. So yeah.
A lot of big resets coming through, and it's for one particular reason on topic with the new changes. There is Voracious Atacon. 5th game in a row for me on the cast at least, that Voracious Atacon has come out as these early games continue to be slow in the LPL. And you can tell, unlike your solo queue games, not everybody's freaking out that Atacon is on the Rift here. Everyone is slowly trying to set up for it, and even just making sure side waves are more in position before all-inning for that potential revive.
Yeah, is it the revive version that did spawn here for Atacon?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not great at recognizing those yet, so, you know.
Orange is revive. I don't know how to tie that in yet, but
I'm giving you the opportunity to win some, like, you know, more draft points here. Now you get patch points, Slayer.
Oh, which ones are more valuable? Also, where can I redeem them?
It depends on the analyst, and
oh, okay.
If it gets worse for me throughout this, then maybe I'll redeem it in your mystery skin.
Oh, great. Okay, a mystery skin.
If I need more saves, you know, I got Slayer's got my back.
We're a team here, all right?
Oh, of course. Always a team effort. You did mention setting up the side lanes. I think it is important to note Xiaohu, TP, about to come off cooldown, and he's got 2 levels up on Saber, which is rather significant. So that lane pile will for sure be in his hands, and to be able to push the Akali around could be really big, as Saber really down and out of this game is what it feels like right now.
Weibo Gaming making a point to just take over this blue quadrant jungle away from Junhao. Maybe wanted to play for that Atacon that did spawn on the top side, is obviously it was the much more bloody one from our early game. Astro are going to come out though, Light immediately cleanse it, so you'll take that win if you're Wako, especially with a level 2 ultimate.
Yeah, not on the cooldowns. Could be deadly now for Light, as just one tool bled out. Wondering if that is enough though for Weibo to really think about pulling the trigger. Again, at this level, 1 or 2 cooldowns being missing, or just a chunk, the likes of which Saber just felt from Xiaohu. That could be enough legitimately to start this, and even if you pull off of it, like, you're at least going to get a TP out of Saber, who has to reset before he takes the fight like this. So curious how frisky Weibo want to get around this objective.
I think they'll get a lot more because they got that tier 1 top turret. It's a fun new addition to the season, as you know, we always talk about getting the mid-tier 1 turret really helps unlock you playing for late game dragons, playing for barons. But now with the fact that Atacon is spawning in either top or bot lane, knocking down those tier 1 turrets actually becomes pretty important for setup.
That's a good point, actually. It definitely ups the value of having a tier 1 down by 20, which I think in this day and age for League is rather expected. But hey, if you don't succeed in knocking that down, then yeah, like, that is an easy spot for you to TP back to or just retreat to if the fight goes sideways. So yeah. That said, at the moment, Weibo thinking a little bit more about this bot side control, as they're going to take down their last outer turret. And again, if Ultra Prime start this, the one thing about Atacon is it does a surprising amount of damage in this early season.
Damage.
Yeah, and so like, I think that Weibo, like, even there, yes, Atacon's a big objective. We're finding for the majority of the games we've seen early season, whoever secures that does win the game. I believe, again, in solo queue, it's like 81, 82% win rate if you get Atacon. But that's a scenario where you can still use the objective to threaten people. It's just the fact they take that outer, they felt like they had enough time to respond if Ultra Prime were to start it, and then you have to deal with all the damage that that objective does if you don't set it up well. I like that read a lot from Weibo.
Ooh, Xiaohu looking for a deadly flank. Wenzhong going to find it out, but maybe a bit too late. Xiaohu going in with the invis, drops between row, gets a ton of damage down onto those carries, but Tian cannot finish the kill. Wako lips himself away, and now Xiaohu's going to have to flash himself out of that beautiful flank. It all lined up so well, but the bucket baked off the rim at the end.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start to the fight from Weibo. They threw the important art keys on the member that they want to take down first in Wako. It was just, he stuck out with 5 HP for like 7 seconds of the fight, just strolled his way on out. Nothing else could get in range. And that's a big, small win there for Ultra Prime, who really need any small win they can get at this point to try and get themselves back in this game, especially with how far down and out their mid laner is in Saber.
Cubby, we're in a rare situation for League of Legends here. Oh, we were so close to it, actually. Dragon falls early. We were about to be at a point where 3 epic monsters were going to be on the Rift at the same time, but let's get a replay to see how this fight started out on the top side before Xiaohu's flank comes around.
I do want to praise RosieLove, that Bramar really, it canceled the rel engage and helped keep Light at bay so that Wako was able to barely sneak out of there. So I don't think he dropped the R planning on that to happen, but hey, it did work out that way. Again, big that Wako lived. If not, Otacon definitely would have been under threat. That said, Weibo did win out on the health bar war in that skirmish, so we're able to secure that Hex Tech Dragon that puts them on Soul Point. Of course, Hexel, very powerful in this season as well. So Weibo can threaten that now later on in the game.
Light gets his cleanse back up. That's important to see if Wako decides to throw another one of those arrows out to start off the fight, but I'm glad you gave RosieLove some love there. It's always the sneaky part about Braum, especially in those team fights. You saw it from Tian, who eats the concussive blow stun right as he flashes for what he thinks is the killer auto. It's just in the mush that is these fights, especially with the low range we kind of have. It's hard to track if you're about to eat that Braum stun or not.
No, can be. Also, in just using the R to disrupt. I'm going to try not to talk too much about Braum. That's a bad habit that I have, is it's no hands champion, therefore I can somewhat play it. Good times. We were rank 1 Braum in NA at one point, back in the heyday. So,
what was that, 2005?
Oh, no, come on. We're not like Aaron Rodgers' heyday here. It's my heyday.
It's not like League wasn't even around in 2005.
Yeah, not quite.
Not quite by bit. Oh, arrow's going to go wide. It does actually end up sniping Tian in the background. He's going to send a little bit of an emote out there. But that's a key ultimate down. Light does not have to burn the cleanse for it.
I'm still surprised at how scared we are to hit Otacon. I'm wondering if Weibo just doesn't feel like they have to start it, because, again, it can rip through a good chunk of health, and I don't think they need it to win this game at this point. Like, outside of the jungle matchup, I do really favor the scaling of Weibo. And so you take that, you take the 2.5, 3K gold lead they have at the moment, and you feel pretty good about the game, especially with Hexel being on Soul Point. I'm kind of wondering if that's their approach for this one. I'm kind of surprised all hasn't started yet.
Tian, hope those Krugs were worth it. My word, do Junhao and Saber make sure Tian does not get away with it, so he'll drop off, and let's see if Ultra Prime want to stab at either of these neutrals with a jungler off the board for another 40 seconds.
Yeah, that was just one big ult used, as it looks like Junhao still has his R up. A Kali ult, of course, is rather important. They wouldn't be able to take down something like Light. It would have to be a hell of an angle coming in from Saber. Ultra Prime will at least make their way to the side of the river that does feature 2 epic monster buffs, and they will start up the new one in Otacon.
Right with a Weibo Gaming pick ward on top of it. So
Hong's at a great angle.
Hong looking for that big rel crash down we've seen. Hits and misses from him so far as he steps up. Gets the glimpse of first round of RosieLove early. So maybe that'll give Weibo enough confidence to go for the play. Breathe going to not land the public execution, and now he's got 5 members of Ultra Prime on top of him, and he'll get picked off on the flank. Should be enough for Ultra Prime to just reset and take another crack at Otacon, who does go back up to full HP.
I really like that from Hong. He got Braum ult out for free. Braum was looking for any animation to cancel. Hong just autos, so he got the R, but Breathe not in position. Gets taken down after the R whiffs, and now Otacon's at a real threat. The biggest threat for Ultra Prime's off the map.
Oh, Junhao still has Cyclone. He immediately commits to it on Light. The arrow comes through just on time after the cleanse. Light is down. Tian going in to lock through Wako, and both AD carries are going to drop. So who's going to step up in the fight now? Tons of low health bars on Ultra Prime's side, but Xiaohu cannot get in to finish them off, and it's a big-time multi-kill for Saber. Otacon, still below 2,000 HP, will be secured by Junhao. Knocked back on the Tofo strikes from Zhang, and he's going to make another 1v1 win with Xiaohu, this time from the top lane to in front of the Baron. What a play. Ultra Prime grab control of game 1.
Wako is down. This might be a slow Baron. I think it's risky because Breathe's here, but you know what? They have the res up, so might as well try and use it. And everything's come collapsing down here for Weibo in the last couple of minutes as Breathe going to get frisky.
Remember, he cannot earn a lot of gold out of this if he finds these kills. Getting the dashes up, tons of damage. Saber's still up. The GA's available for all of these Ultra Prime members. But Breathe does accomplish the goal, stops the slow Baron take, and maybe halts it entirely for the next couple of minutes.
Honestly, that's really big because you can see Hong's trying to mess with tempo here. If he gets to cancel any of these recalls, then Dragon is actually on the table. The soul spawns here in 5 seconds, and Weibo, they're looking for it.
A lot of big summoners down. Some ults still coming back up online here. Got to use them if you are Weibo Gaming, but this is just gone. Glacial Fissure is late. The smite comes through. Junhao does not get in. Arrow's going to land on to Breathe, who does have the Hextech Soul now, and just like the start of last fight, is going to sacrifice himself to the might of Ultra Prime, who will likely maybe use this a turn right towards Varen.
I got to say, I feel like Ultra Prime really need to get things here because even with how strong Otacon is, I would not trade this and this buff and the lack of use of this buff for a free Hextech Soul on this Weibo team. This is something where Weibo is going to have this buff for the rest of the game. And the amount of space you can buy using Hex Soul, especially in 2 comps where the space is this low, like there's a lot of lack of range on each side, it can be really valuable for just being able to space things at this level. That said, Barons though, and it looks like Weibo are just fishing around for the steal because they do not want to mess with this buff. So it will be a free Baron going over Ultra Prime.
They do cash in as the revive will drop off pretty soon here, but good work from the damage dealers of Weibo to get some turrets on the back end. They actually cash in a ton of gold here, Cubby. Knock down mid-tier 2 and bot tier 2.
I do like that call from Weibo, just to say, hey, even if we take a fight and win it, like any fight that we take while the GAs are up is going to be won by Ultra Prime. Oh, okay, we're going to go way back here and get a
what a sidestep.
Yeah, well played there by Wako. Again, Breathe is really in a bad spot being found up there. If him and Hong were able to pitch, it could have been big, but the fact that Breathe was caught out at that time really hurt any and all chances Weibo had for taking this fight.
Here's the combo I really like. Junhao still has that Cyclone. White is fishing to step up, but it's going to pop into the clone here, dash through with the Braum stun. The cleanse comes out early, and Wako, I'm going to give him the credit for the intended arrow position. Yeah. Hits it perfectly.
Yeah, it did step a little bit too far off in the back half, but still Wako taking down Light, and with Ambessa out there, that's all Ultra Prime needed to win those fights and skirmishes. They've got themselves at least a gold lead. Baron is on their shoulders, buffing up these waves. We'll see what they can get, because, again, I still feel like they're down in this game. They don't have the scaling to, get through something like Ambessa later on, and right. Varus is going to hit so hard. Feats of Strength in the inventories down for Weibo with Hex Soul, so it might be an even gold game, but I feel like with the champions and the buffs, the extra power that Weibo has in their inventory, they're still the ones that are stronger in this one.
A lot less damage as well as Wako commits to the Hullbreaker Ash, which I did not know started becoming a thing.
I chose to ignore
jinx.
It personally.
Okay.
In this one.
It hurt me, so I had to break it.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's... I mean, you get a lot of stats from it. And buffing up the cannon minions, especially when you have Baron going on, too bad.
Whoa. Ton of damage down coming out from Xiaohu. Onto the clone, though. Junhao can escape back between worlds. Will not lock on the Ultra Prime up. Hog goes in, gets a huge stun to set up Xiaohu's damage. That is the poetry you expect from the Weibo Gaming support. Steps in, gets the game-defining fight win for Weibo 3-0.
I don't think Weibo can end off this, but any hopes of the Baron being big for Ultra Prime go out the window, and what a great fight execution coming out from Weibo. Xiaohu, he did use the flash that time around to set that up, but the follow-up this time around, Breathe was in the fight from the start. You can see the damage that Ambessa puts down in this game. Again, just way too much for Ultra Prime to deal with.
And now they're going to barrel down towards the Ultra Prime base here as Hong is looking for more. Demolish stacks, minion wave brought up. Down goes the inhibitor turret. Wanzhong and Junhao, there's just nothing they can do. They don't have the damage behind them to even stop Weibo as they'll take the first inhibitor.
Yeah, take another look. Again, Hong, Breathe, in really good spots. We did set up a lot. In this one, jungle support duo, making sure that you're finding good engages. We've seen some decent moments from RosieLove playing Peel on this Braum, but this time around, it was Weibo's jungle support duo. Way too good of a start to this fight between Hong, that initial chunk they found onto Junhao, and then Tian going in to wrap the fight up against Wako. Really, really well done by Weibo's jungle support duo.
It's been anything but smooth sailing for one of the big contenders of the LPL this split, but they are certainly back in control here. Have wave control obviously coming through that bottom lane. They can look to play for that ever game-defining Elder Dragon. It's about a minute and a half up. Gotta think that's the next objective on both these teams' minds.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see Weibo actually even hovering the top side of the map here. I know that they were trying to make sure that Breathe can get a reset in. Yeah, okay. One more reset. They're going to manicure these waves as both teams will head back and fight for the epic monster that's still as game-defining as it was in the past season. some things have changed, some things have not, Slayer. And Elder trying to be the end of the game is one that's still familiar.
You're going to need a lot more lines of pass notes to get rid of old Graybeard Dragon down there. He is committed to his stoop, no matter how late he shows up to the party. You can already see the vision being cleared out here by Weibo, as they do grant themselves some pretty good setup. Have to be careful with how far they want to push in, though. Ultra Prime not showing on any other waves except the bottom wave. Breathe does have access to that teleport, so he will be able to get that top creep group crashed into that tier 2 turret. Puts Ultra Prime in a pretty tough position to answer.
Yeah, I mean, the super creep spawning bot, best case scenario here for Weibo in terms of going for this Elder Dragon. As you can see the setup they're playing out for this, it just starts with that wave, right? Get that wave in first, spot Ultra Prime, and then work your way up to connect with mid. And yeah, Weibo's done this very well. You can see Ultra Prime. Their only choice now is to fight through bot and try and get these supers in to actually pincer around Weibo, who have already taken full control. And even feeling frisky enough to start hitting this dragon a little bit as Breathe.
Breathe and Zhang in their own 1v1, but the engage is found with the snap of a fingers, and Junhao is exploded. Into the backline goes Saber. He takes a huge trunk, trying to get rid of Light. Will get it with the Storm Surge, but Breathe is unleashed on the front side. Dashes galore, damage galore. There is nothing that Wako and company can go as he drops into the GA, but is only going to protect him from the gray screen for mere seconds. Weibo, rocky in the early game, couple of fights that didn't look too good, but when push comes to shove, when it's time for the big bad fights, it's Weibo and Xiaohu to step up, ace, and game 1 win inbound.
And Xiaohu had some big engages too, but man, if Breathe was in the fight and set up for success, those fights were over whenever Breathe got going. This Ambessa, throw a Hex Tech Soul to add to the stickiness this champion already has to others. I really feel like Breathe was the one who made or broke this game for Weibo. A couple fights where Breathe wasn't functional, where the fights where Weibo struggled when Breathe was Ambessa. Too good of a pick and too well played by Breathe to be toppled in this game.
Leads his team in kills. Leads his team in fewest deaths. I'm with you, Cubby. What a performance here from Breathe and Weibo, who do get the game one win. But I think the sentiment taken away here is that Ultra Prime definitely aren't just going to roll over against this Titan of the LPL.
It was a better fight than I thought, frankly. I was not expecting that from Ultra Prime, but hey, on the bright side, hopefully it makes for an interesting match. I know the TT win over LNG is the one interesting thing that's happened so far for a lot of people in LPL. You know, I might have expected that one a little bit more, being you know, the new guy and only seeing what happened in the Masia Cup, where I expect TT to win after that, right?
I perfectly predicted it as one of the other new guys, so.
There we go. I like that one, Slayer, but no, I mean, Weibo, cleanest game that they wanted? No. But was it one where they were able to dig deep, rely on some of the fundamentals that we expect a team of this caliber to have, and to use that to win the game? Yeah, and Ultra Prime, once, you know, the standard setups came in from Weibo, really felt like they didn't have anything to do in that game. I mean, even with Saber having a really nice final fight to find the Varus, even being behind as a Cubby, I mean, no one was touching Breathe in that game, man. That was a really good use of 5 pick, and Breathe played the Ambessa very well.
Very good execution on the comp that has all the setup, has all the agency, so it's good to see Weibo lean back towards that, towards the end of the game. And we continue to capture these intriguing footnotes of how these teams approach this new patch. I mean, when I saw the patch notes drop, I never thought that there would be a point in pro play where we might see Otacon in one lane, Baron in the river, and then you know, a late game dragon spawning on the bot side. But we were mere seconds away from that happening in this one.
Well, you know, I think the story about 2025, we went from 2 splits to 3, and potentially 2 epic monsters in the map to 3, and, you know, 3 feats of strength, and just keep on getting more and more dopamine to hit on the map. You know, more things to do. Getting closer to Fortnite than you think, Slayer. Is step 1.
Closer to Fortnite. I think there's a lot of games that we have to clear hurdles on before we end up at Fortnite.
You were talking about the 1v1s. You know, the walls are going to condense. You know.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go with the post-game graphics. Do show that Ultra Prime, hey, pretty competitive. Here we see some peaks and valleys on that one, but